Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Our theme today has been justice, miscarriage of justice, injustice, sudden reversal, granting the Romeike family justice. They're going to be able to stay and escape that Hitler-era homeschooling law in Germany. Our last caller mentioned what the gay lobbyist does. We've seen this, the major thing down in Oregon and Washington and Colorado, New Mexico, where wedding vendors have been in danger of fines and incarceration for simply making decisions to run their business based on their most deeply held principles. And you do that, you politely decline to participate in a same-sex wedding. They will land on you like a falling safe. Well, here's a story out of New Mexico. The hairstylist of the governor of New Mexico, Susana Martinez, she believes in natural marriage. She believes in man-woman marriage. Her hairstylist, as a homosexual, will no longer cut her hair, refused to cut her hair until she changes her stance on same-sex marriage. This is the governor of the state of New Mexico. I ain't cutting her hair. No way, no how, because I disagree with her. So apparently a gay hairstylist in New Mexico has the right to make a decision about how she runs her business, but a photographer in New Mexico is going to get fined $6,700 for doing the same thing. So hardly any form of justice there in New Mexico. And speaking of another miscarriage of justice, I'm honored to welcome to our decision maker line a good friend of this program and a good friend of the pro-family movement, Brian Camenker of Mass Resistance, located, as the name of his organization implies, in the state of Massachusetts. Brian, welcome back to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Great being here, Brian. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's always good to have you here, Brian, and I just want to say it again, just how much admiration I have for you. You are taking a stand for the truth. Sometimes it's a pretty lonely battle, I would think, there in the Bay State, standing a lot of times by yourself. You know you got a lot of people that have not bowed the knee to Baal, but somebody's got to be at the point of the spear, and that's been you in the state of Massachusetts. And I just want to tell you how proud of you I am and how much I admire your courage and your faithfulness to the cause. So let's talk here about what happened to a pro-life activist by the name of Peter, and I don't know how you say his last name, DiTilio?
DiTilio, yeah.
DiTilio, all right. Peter DiTilio, this guy's a pro-life activist and just got convicted by a jury of 3 crimes, found guilty of disturbing a school, trespass, and resisting arrest. I've read your thorough account at Mass Resistance. You can go there and read it for yourself. Not a shred of truth to any of those charges. Walk us through what happened to Peter DiTilio.
Well, Peter DiTilio has a ministry, a pro-life ministry that ministers to young people, showing them the truth about abortion. And he basically walks down a sidewalk with a sign, and he has these little pamphlets that are sort of like bookmarks. And the police hate him for doing that. He'll walk, in towns. He'll walk near schools. He'll, perfectly legal. And so from time to time they'll harass him. He's been beat up by police, and they will trump up charges against him. And this has happened several times, and generally, once it goes to court, they get thrown out because they're ridiculous charges. But this time, they insisted the prosecution on a jury trial, and it was insane. Simply standing on a sidewalk near a school, they claimed that he disturbed the school, that he was trespassing on the school grounds, even though he was always on the public sidewalk, and it was proven that he was on this public sidewalk by eyewitness testimony, and they claimed that he resisted arrest, and under cross-examination, the police officer's own testimony basically showed that he wasn't resisting arrest, but nevertheless, the prosecution was intent on going after him and painted him in the most hideous light in the jury's eyes. I might also add that the judge, who was, in my opinion, very biased, I sat through the entire trial, the judge would not let Peter's lawyer question the prospective jurors on their opinion of abortion, or whether they were pro-life or not pro-life, or what have you. Anything having to do with abortion, he was not allowed to ask prospective jurors. So it looked like there were several jurors who were very pro-abortion and angry. And this is what happened. The prosecution completely disregarded any of the facts and tried to paint him as this predator, this horrible, extremist, what have you. And that's what happened. They convicted him on these ridiculous charges that all of the evidence said that he didn't do.
Well, and you think about, you write in your account, Brian, I want to go back and revisit a couple of elements of the actual event itself, the incident itself. But you indicate in your account that there was the jury was fed blatantly erroneous information. The police officer who testified said that he was showing pictures of dead babies, and he was not doing that. And the attorney was refused permission to ask jurors whether they believed in the constitutional right to free speech, even if that speech may be upsetting to other people.
Right. Yeah. There were a series of questions that the lawyer asked the judge to be able to ask the jurors, and that was part of it. And the judge refused. And yeah, the police officer testified that he had this sign showing dead babies and a slogan that said "Stop contraception" or "Stop birth control." And of course, the sign did not have a picture of a dead baby, and it did not have that. But the judge would not allow the sign to be shown to the jury.
This is amazing to me, Brian, because I'm looking right at the sign. I'm looking at it. It's in your story, a picture of it at massresistance.org. Here's Peter holding his sign. It says, "Warning, this is how they do abortions." So anything about contraceptions. And what it has is a graphic depiction of how an abortion is done at 33 weeks. So it's not a picture of a baby. It's an artist rendition. And it just shows the procedure step by step of how it's done, which is a procedure that's legal in most of America. And this is something that the judge would not even let the jury see.
Right. It's really worse than that. They allowed the sign to be brought into the courtroom, but only the back of it, which was blank, could be shown to the jury.
Good grief.
And so the jury was able to see how big the sign was and what it looked like from the back, but not allowed to see it from the front. And so naturally the jury thought that it must be so horrible that the judge, didn't want to disturb them somehow.
Well, if you got a police officer coming in here and saying he's showing pictures of dead babies, then they are going to imagine what's on the other side of that poster, not even remotely connected to the truth.
Right, absolutely.
Now let's go back to the event in front of the school. He's on the sidewalk. He's on a public sidewalk. He's not disturbing anybody. He's holding a sign. He's willing to talk to anybody that wants to talk to him about the contents of the sign, but he's not shouting at anybody. He's not disturbing anything. He's on a public sidewalk where he has every right to be. He's displaying a sign that's not offensive. It's not graphic in any way. And he had learned that it's very, very important, and we've seen this in talking to other sidewalk counselors, important to have a video record of everything that happens. And so he had a video camera with him, and he videotaped the policeman and his interaction with the cop. Tell us what happened to the camera and the tape.
Right. Well, in the past, Peter has been beat up by cops, and there was a Supreme Court ruling in Massachusetts that said you have the right to video a police officer when he's interacting with you. And so Peter brought this camera, and he's used it many times to video police officers who confront him. And so he pulled out the camera as the police officer was confronting him. The police officer tried to grab it from him, but he held his hand back. A little while later, the police officer tackled him, took the camera, arrested him, and what happened was they broke the camera open, took out the cassette tape at the police station, and gave him back the camera broken without the cassette tape in it.
And now that tape could exonerate him
Right.
And it seems to me that is a serious case of police misconduct. I mean, chain of evidence and custody and all that kind of stuff. And you got to provide the defense with the evidence that could be exculpatory. I mean, it seems to me there's some serious grounds for mistrial here, and maybe even for a suit against Massachusetts or against the city.
I would think so. I mean, at first the police, the clerk said, yes, the police officer has the tape and he'll give it back to you. Then Peter's lawyer officially asked for it by letter, and then they changed their story saying there never was a tape. And, yeah, it's the whole thing is just horrible. It's just, full of lies, full of just terrible, terrible behavior. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some kind of appeal.
Now, he was sentenced to 30 days in the House of Correction. That's suspended for a year. But nevertheless, he was suspended to 30 days in the House of Correction and winds up paying a fine of $650 is what he's been assessed. And let me ask you this, Brian, stepping back just for a moment, take a big picture look at this. We got about a minute left. What does this say about where we're at in America on the sanctity of life issue when it comes to justice in the courts?
It says that there's no justice. It says that the state basically is oppressing that message in some very brutal ways, and we're in trouble, and we've got to fight back.
Our guest has been Brian Camenker with Mass Resistance. You can get more information by going to massresistance.org. This update is up there on the website today if you want to read it for yourself about this kangaroo court in Brockton, Massachusetts, a completely bogus, trumped-up conviction of a pro-life activist sentenced to 30 days in the House of Correction, suspended, but nevertheless the sentence was handed down on what amounts to a fine of $650. Brian, I want to thank you for coming on the program. I just want to thank you and commend you for your stand for life and your stand for marriage in Massachusetts. And I'm guessing at times it can feel like kind of a lonely path that you're on, but I want you to know, Brian, people are observing, people are watching, people are noticing, and people are very proud and happy about what you're doing there. So carry on, my friend.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's a great honor to be on your show.
Brian Camenker, Mass Resistance, massresistance.org. We'll be right back with more of your calls, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.